UFC 290, Volkanovski versus Rodriguez. I've been talking about this card for a while. I did a full card prediction going over every single one of these fights not that long ago. And while I was going over that full card prediction, I'm just in awe about how many bangers there are on this card. Some people might look at the prelims, like if you're like more of a casual fighter or a watcher of the UFC and MMA, you might see some of the names on here like Jimmy Crute, Esteban Ribovics, Cameron Saaiman, Yasmin Yaragui. You might think these are just random MMA fighters who are going to go 1-1, 1-2 in their UFC career. You might think this is just an average prelim card where the main card's the real cool stuff, where we got Whitaker, Duplessis, Pantoja, Moreno, Rodriguez, Volkanovski. But I'm telling you right now, the best fights aren't actually on the main card. There are some freaking fight of the night contenders. I mean, there's so many fight of the night contenders just on the prelims. I already said the main event, Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez, already makes it a very good UFC pay-per-view and a UFC fight card. The fact that there's also Brandon Moreno, Alexandre Pantoja, the trilogy makes that even better. But the fact that the prelims are as good as they are, I'm going to keep harping on that thing about this card. The people saying it's not that top heavy for the main card. I don't know what you're saying. You got Robert Whitaker, Dricus Du Plessis, which could be a main event of a UFC fight, and a winner is going to get a title shot, and that's just the fourth to last fight of the card. And like I've been saying, the prelims are where it's really at. The main card's amazing. I'm loving the main card, but you got to look at the prelims, man. You have to. Jimmy Crute, Alonzo Menifield, the number 14 light heavyweight contender in the world. I know he's coming off of losses. I know he came out and got, knocked out pretty badly by the freaking champion, Jamal Hill. Lost to Anthony Smith with that doctor stoppage, but the man's a finisher, man. Win or loss, I mean, when has he gone to his decision? 3 times in his MMA career. The last time was 5 years ago. That's the first fight of the night. Number 14 in the world, taking on Alonzo Menifield, who just got a draw with that number 14 guy, and both guys like finish after finish after finish. You got undefeated guys in the card, like Vitor Petrino, who's a finishing machine. You got Christian Rodriguez, who just beat Raul Rosas Jr. Cameron Saaiman, undefeated South African, taking on Christian Rodriguez, who just beat Raul Rosas Jr. That's just the first 4 fights of the card. Number 5, you got Yasmin Yaragui, 10-0 undefeated Mexican, future top 5, title challenger, maybe champion. You got a fight of the night contender in Shannon Rosh, Jesus Aguilar, and I'm saying that's a fight of the night contender. But the fights I just mentioned, Yasmin Yaragui, Denise Gomez, people are going to be like, that's a women's MMA fight. That is a banger women's MMA fight. If there's an MMA fight on this card with females on it, that's the fight I would want for UFC 290. And it's the only women's MMA fight, but it's an absolute banger. Saaiman Rodriguez is a banger. They're going to go crazy in that fight. Esteban Ribovics, Kemuela Kirk is a banger. Vitor Petrino, Marcin Prachnio is a banger. We already saw Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menifield. We're getting the rematch, and that is going to be a banger. Like 9090 is saying in the comments, that's a rematch. The first fight was a draw. Jimmy Crute got dropped twice. Jimmy Crute landed some takedowns, kind of started to form a comeback later on in the fight. It was a war, and that's first fight up. We're not even getting to the last 2 fights of the prelim. That's what I'm going to end it on. The last 2 fights in the prelim, Jack Della Maddalena versus Sean Brady. I mean, how many people watching MMA have kind of like labeled Jack Della Maddalena as like a future title challenger, gonna be like a future top 5 of the UFC welterweight division, gonna knock out like Gilbert. Like a lot of people are saying this guy could beat guys like Bilal Muhammad, go out there and beat guys like Jeff Neal, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I'm not saying he's going to beat some of those guys, but he's got such a bright future, and he's a finisher. And he's taking on Sean Brady, whose only loss was the next title challenger after Colby, because, Dana's got that Dana White privilege with Colby Covington. But you got that as the second to last fight, not on the main card, but on the freaking prelims. Not to mention the final prelim of the card, Robbie Lawler, Nico Price. Former UFC champion versus a guy that every fight you're tuning in because he puts on fantastic fights in Nico Price. The main card, I just went over one of the most stacked prelim cards of all time. And then you look at the main card and you see Dan Hooker, who's been in a few main events in the UFC, versus one of the tallest, lengthiest guys to ever grace the octagon at 155 pounds in Jalen Turner. You're talking former champ Robert Whittaker versus the best South African of all time, Dricko du Plessis. You got a former NCAA champ, multiple-time wrestling champion, Bo Nickel, Tresean Gore. UFC 290 is stacked. Again, there's some people saying UFC 290 should be a little bit better. There should be one more title fight. We would all love that. Jamal Hill, Yuri Prochazka just randomly added to this card. I don't even know. Random women's MMA fight. Valentina Shevchenko, Alexa Grasso added to this card, making a Mexican main event, Mexican co-main event, Mexican co-main event. Would make it really, really good. But it's already so good. We just went over. It is already so good. So please mark your calendars. July 8th, UFC 290 in Las Vegas from top to bottom. This is not a fight card where you're going to have bathroom breaks. Every fight is to watch. It's not one of those UFC fight nights where there's 2 fights here. I can miss those. I could go upstairs. I could play with my dog a little bit. I could go out to get a burger at McDonald's or something. If you're MMA Joey, this is not one of those cards. Every fight, I can't think of a fight that's bad. I'm looking at the card. I can't think of one fight I would say would be just or not good. Every fight is good. The UFC 290 is amazing. What do y'all think? I'm going to rate this card. I'm going to rate it a solid 9.3 out of 10. I think it's that good. It's almost a 10 out of 10. There's no such thing as a 10 out of 10 because that would be like John Jones, Francis Ngannou, I don't know, Jamal Hill versus Yuri Prochazka, Adesanya versus Hamza Chimaev, Leon Edwards, Colby Covington, freaking Volkanovski versus Islam again. That would be like title shot after title shot all over the card. There's nothing going to be able to get that close. But 9.3 out of 10 is super solid. What do y'all think of UFC 290? Volkanovski Rodriguez, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10? Put your thoughts down below.